Hi students, welcome to another lesson. For today's lesson, we're going to be looking at graphs. And this is just a brief introduction to graphs. For today's objectives, we're going to be looking at how to identify the x and y axes of a T-shaped graph. We're going to learn to identify the origin of a T-shaped graph. And we're going to identify the coordinates of a point on a graph. Now, when I speak of T-shaped graph, what do I mean? This is what I mean by a T-shaped graph. We see here that the graph is shaped like a T because the two bold lines that you see here make the shape of a T. What do you notice about these lines? Do you notice that there are numbers on each line? Yeah. Do you notice that the numbers are positive and negative? You have the positives and the negatives. So the negative numbers, they look like the same numbers as the positive numbers, it's just that they have a negative sign in front of it. Do you remember when we were doing integers and we said integers are positive and negative numbers? And do you remember we said negative numbers are smaller than positive ones? So negative 1 would be smaller than 1. So negative 1 and 1 are not the same. This is just a quick, lesson on integers. All right, so let's go back to graphs. All right. So yes, it's called a T-shaped graph because it's in the shape, the axis, the two main lines here, the two bold lines that you see on the screen are in the shape of a T. Now, let's just start looking at the parts of a graph. Now, this line that runs from top to bottom that looks like a number line is what we call our y-axis. It runs vertically, so it runs from top to bottom, or if you want to say north to south, it's the same thing. We're talking about the y-axis. And one way of identifying the y-axis is looking on the tail of the y. Just as how the tail of the y runs from top to bottom, the y-axis runs from top to bottom. Let's look on the other axis. That purple line there is what we call our x-axis. Very good. It is a horizontal line. You see how it looks like a number line, just the same, with negative and positive numbers, just the same? Awesome. So it's called our x-axis. Just as how the x represents a cross, the line runs across. That's what I use to remember. All right, that is what I use to remember. So, vertical line that runs top to bottom is the y-axis. Horizontal line that runs across or from left to right is called x-axis. Finally, let us look on that position right there, that black dot. That black dot there, yes, it represents the point where the two axes intersect, or where the two axes meet. And that's the point that we call the origin. All right, and we're going to now look at how we name a point. All right, we're going to look at how we name a point in math. So let us recap. The vertical line is called the y-axis. Very good. The horizontal line is called the x-axis. Awesome. And the point where the two intersect is called the origin. Very good. Let us learn how to read points on a graph. All right. Here we have a purple dot on a graph. And this purple dot, it's sitting in space, right? Now we use x values as well as the y values to represent the dots that's sitting in space. And it is similar to when you use a GPS tracking system. A GPS tracking system is basically a software that tells you where you are and where you need to go, gives you directions and where you need to go. So, for example, if you're driving along the street, the GPS tells you to turn right, and you turn right, and it shows you on the display what it looks like. It's similar. It's similar to graphs. All right. So this point, this dot would represent, let's say Miss Hamilton is traveling. This dot would represent Miss Hamilton. So the position, we want to know what position Miss Hamilton is in. So we're going to take the x value as well as the y value to identify the exact location of Miss Hamilton. Now, what do we mean by finding the x value? We're going to look on our x-axis. What direction does the x-axis run again? Right, from left to right. So we're going to look on our x-axis here, and we're going to look for the number that best identifies the position. Let's try. Is -2? Does -2 line up with the dot? No, 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 no. Does 3 line up with the dot? Let's try. Try going a straight line. Going a straight line. No, it does not. Does 4 line up with the dot? Let's move in a straight line and see. Yes, it does. So now we know that the x value is going to be 4. Very good. So we read the x value first from the horizontal axis. Now we're going to find the y value that lines up with the dots. The y value is on the vertical axis. Very good, or the one that runs from top to bottom. So we're going to find out what number on the vertical axis lines up with the dots. Let's try some points. You have to eyeball it and try to figure it out. Does this one lines up with the dot? Let's take a line horizontally. Draw. Here we have a blue dot on the screen. Let's remember, we write our x value first. So what's the x value? What number on the x-axis does this dot line up with? Don't want to show you the answers yet. -7. Very good, because if you notice, -7 is lined up with the dot. What y value is this dot lined up with? Let's look on the y-axis. This is our y-axis here. What value? 1. Very good. So we're going to write our x value first, and our x value is -7, and we're going to write our y value next, and that gives us -7, 1. Try this one now. Try this one on your own. Find the x value, then find the y value. Have you paused the video? Good. Let's see if you got it right. 1, 2. Very good. 1 is on the x-axis. We identify the number on the x-axis, and remember the x-axis runs from left to right. X across. And the 1 is on the x-axis, it lines up with the point. And then we identify the number on the y-axis. Y, the tail of the y runs from top to bottom, so y-axis is top to bottom. So we identify the number on the y-axis, which is 2. Let's try some more. Pause the video, have a go, and tell me what you got. If you said 7, 3, you are correct. 3 is here. It's a bit hidden in this question. Sorry about that. This is 3. That's for the y-axis. So you come across and you see that it's y. All right. Next example. Try this one. Awesome. 6, -2. Here, the x is 6 because we found 6 on the x-axis. And then we want to find what number on the y-axis it lines up with. The y-axis runs from top to bottom. So -2 represents the y value. All right. Even though we're coming across and it seems as if we're moving in the direction of the x-axis, this value still sits on the y-axis, and that is why it's called the y value. Finally, this is the point -5, -3, or -5, -3. We read the value on the x-axis first. The x-axis runs across. So that means that this is the number that best lines up with it. All right. So even though the x-axis runs across, you're going to go vertically to find the position, to find how the dot lines up. Right? And the y-axis, even though the y-axis runs vertically, you're going to find a number that lines up. Yeah, you're going to find a number that lines up with it. All right? Let's do a quick recap. To find the to find the coordinates of a point, we look on the x-axis, and to find the number that best lines up with it, what number on the x-axis best lines up with is 4, right? So we're going to travel up to see. Very good. So 4 is the one that lines up with it. Then we're going to find the y value that lines up with it. The y value is located on the y-axis, so we're going to move across. Awesome. And we're going to write each number inside brackets separated by a comma. The first number represents our x. The second number represents our y. And this is how we identify points on a graph. Thank you for watching, students. Remember to like and continue watching my videos, and comment below if this video helps so that I know how best I can assist you. All right, take care.